Hello there everyone, and welcome back to Empire Total War with Darth Mod. Last time around we secured Hungary, not by actually fighting a battle at the capital, but instead fighting a battle at Budapest. Now I actually need to repair. And so that portion of the Austrian kingdom has fallen. Now we need to go for the capital. However, as sieges are quite horrid and horrible battles, we are instead going to cut off their reinforcement by moving Rafał Bocza's army in to stop any reinforcements from coming down the road there. So they are sending Florian Weinmann down. And then this army up here with Andreas Romberg to reinforce or basically stop us sieging Vienna. We're going to cut them off. And then we have this army right here. Hopefully it's going to move, just out-resolve this one, cutting up the remnants of the Austrians quite quickly. So they'll be cut off here. And then they'll be cut off here. This one will slowly diminish to the point where they'll have to sally out. And we hope to do the same over in Munich as well. And then the Austrians are done for, and all armies can then focus on the Russians. But that's for later episodes. Right now, what we're going to do is we're going to see what we can accomplish here by taking this army down and smiting the enemy at the mines. So he doesn't actually get reinforcements, but I'm gonna give him the honor of actually fighting the battle just because he is a quite high start general. But we'll probably go through this pretty quickly so we can continue on and do this battle as well. So without further ado, let's attack the enemy. And we find ourselves in a very good spot, holding the high ground above the enemy, which kind of holds down here in this mining complex. They do have a rather nice warehouse building, but that could be reduced to rubble with my artillery within seconds. And then again, the AI never does like put garrison troops inside. I've split up my army. I realize this army is mostly or almost entirely made out of normal infantry. So I've divided them into groups of 5. I actually noticed that this one has an engineer group there, which they should really have been linked with the rest of the engineers. So they're groups of 5 of line infantrymen. So we got 1, 2, and then 3, 4, and then there's a 5th one with only 4 behind the artillery protecting that. We got 3 engineers here. We've got 1 light infantry and 4 cavalry. We have 1 heavily cuirassier unit, and then 2 units of hussars, one of which is guard, and one of which is just normal hussar. And with that, we're gonna start off the battle. Most likely, we're gonna bombard them into submission within seconds, because I had a ton of howitzers with this army build. There goes the first barrage. Doubt the enemy will even be able to deploy their guns, one of which is already retreating as it got blown to bits. But not that impressive, given my superior amount of artillery. Right, we will forward the first wave on either side to the point where it at least... we've got some impassable terrain here. We don't want to open it up too much. What we'll do is we'll have this one actually go ahead and march. Not like that, but like this. And then, since it's howitzers, we'll advance the center brigade as well. and then we'll advance the first one on the right flank. So we'll have 3 brigades moving up to meet the enemy. The enemy is concentrating their artillery fire towards our cavalry. So I will move them down slightly to the right side of the hill. And what we can do to secure the front is to have the engineers place stakes in the center. We got 1 artillery piece retreating, we got 1 which only has 1 piece left, and this one has 2. So the enemy artillery has been reduced to more or less nothing within seconds. And it's soon time instead to start focusing on the enemy units. We can see the artillery blasts blowing up anything close to it. The AI usually tries to protect their artillery by deploying their cavalry right behind it as to secure it. Didn't work out too well when it comes under such heavy artillery bombardment as these have. And completely been blasted to hell. The enemy is moving troops. I mean, they set up over here, but they're actually marching to the right. And it looks like we'll meet the enemy on the right before we actually reach the positions I have given them. So instead, we have kind of a ridge, which we will reach for the enemy right there. I think this position looks pretty good. We've got open ground kind of rolling down towards the enemy, so this is pretty good position. We'll set up these in a crisscross pattern to lay 3 lines then of stakes. So I guess we'll hold here, and we do have plenty of ground to advance through with this, let's call it the 1st brigade, 2nd brigade, and then 3rd brigade, as that is how we have moved them. I do believe the enemy artillery at this point has been blasted to bits, and now we're just blasting up the little village instead. So I'm gonna go ahead and order all artillery to cease fire, and then fire at will again, and then re-establish by picking new targets. We'll have the light infantry go in to secure the forest, kind of keep that out of the hands of the enemy, as that could be a point where they could break through and try to split the 2 brigades, although seeming rather unlikely. As we're doing kind of a big wheel maneuver, even though there's still ground and I kind of want to push forward, I want everyone in line before we actually push forward. And center could also push forward, but there's only 4 units in that, and there is quite a lot of enemy cavalry. So until these guys have placed their stakes, we're not going to move forward, but I can move these forward and then have the guard engineers actually fire above their heads from behind them. But it looks like first contact is going to be made over here, and we're going to make some slight adjustments to some of the units. These 2 are not going to come in range, so they should be moving. Ah, look at that! Powders have been sighted, and we're opening fire on the enemy. Looks to be Royal Hungarian Grenadiers. So Hungary is fallen, but their troops still fight on. I'm wondering where the artillery is still focusing. Somewhere where we don't really need them to be focusing. So I'm gonna tell them to all focus in on this point right here to blast that. The enemy is slowly moving into the killing field as we have made kind of a bucket in which they can fall into and die. This one could gain some ground to actually get closer, because the ridge goes right about here. Same with this one, could get a little bit of better angle there. I wonder, all the howitzers are now firing towards... I should have aimed for this one instead. We have two of the large batteries over here. I'll have them go ahead and fire towards the 27th. At the same time, these guys are kind of moving into line. Looks like the enemy's cavalry has just been shredded by artillery. Slowly moving into range of these. Guerrilla mercenaries making a charge, and here's something that I should have be a lot better at, is to do counter charges, just to get that charge bonus, because melee is unavoidable at that range, and so it's better to gain that little advantage of make it a counter charge to break up the momentum of the enemy. Gonna focus in more of the artillery strikes towards here. The unit was quickly routed as it ran into fire and then right into our bayonet attack. Heavy fighting in the forest, but it looks like most of the enemy's regiments are retreating. It's that militia unit, which is the biggest kind of enemy unit still stationed there. It might be time to send in the cavalry, which should really have been positioned closer to begin with. We're slowly taking control over the mining village. Can hold you right there and open fire on the dragoons. And then you can kind of hold there, because I don't need any more forward movements from these guys. And then what we can do here is redraw the lines to connect them. That's what I thought anyways. They decided not to. They decided to go all over the place. What? Oh, now I got this one as well. Well, that's great. We're gonna ride everything down with the cavalry anyway, so just make an opening for them. But then it might be well to hold the artillery. See if we can get one last blast towards that militia unit. Yeah, that's enough. Hussars will go first, followed by the heavy cavalry. And there goes the charge. They're uncontested, the enemy is not firing towards them, and so the Hussars are able to quickly sweep in on the Hungarian militia. More substantial threat is the Royal Hungarian Line of Foot, which is in the forest. So we'll ride that one down with the heavy cavalry. We'll have the infantry advance towards the enemy and to hold fire. You'll go to the edge of the forest, you'll reposition there. And the enemy is slowly falling apart. I'm going to select all the howitzers and we're going to target the enemy general here at the last bit of the battle. I thought the Hussars was going to have quite... We probably should have fired a bit more artillery on these. I thought the Hussars would just sweep them away rather quickly. A full barrage like that of howitzer shot would probably have worked quite well. I think what I'll do is I'll push the Hussars through and let them go towards the enemy general, and I think that will cause a rout within the Hungarian militia, and that is exactly what happened as we pushed through, and the battle is won. So let's go on to the bigger and better battle then. Here's the statistics of the battle. We only lost 600 men while annihilating the enemy force, which was no surprise since I outnumbered them by 5,500 men. And so he was quickly dispatched and he went far, far away. Only the cannon survived. I'm a bit if this will support this, but I don't think that. I think they're too far away. And oh, they will actually support them. So it's 5,000 supported by, I can't tell, but I'm kind of thinking it's 6,000. So it's a major battle, which seems like I shouldn't spend so much time on the first one. But let's not drag this on and charge these bastards and kill them all. Going with the exact same formation, and yeah, let's just jump into it, shall we? Right. This time it's a little bit different as the enemy deploys on a higher ground than us. And they've got village and stuff to hide behind. But I doubt they will do that well. Go ahead and blast their artillery in the beginning. Nothing can really stand against my bloody howitzers, especially since I have as many as I do. Wonder if it might be better to use shrapnel shot, but I think, yeah, the shrapnel shot would only be defensive as it doesn't reach that far. And as I've already spent quite a lot of time on this episode, let's be a little bit aggressive, and also it will, as we take out both these armies, it will reduce the enemy quite substantially in this fight. So we'll forward the 2 first brigades. It's impossible terrain here, splitting these 2 off. So it might be better than not to maybe go through there and split the brigade, but instead focus it through this side, going through there. And also kind of means that I need to forward the 4th brigade if we number 1. Wait, how am I gonna number them? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's whatever. We'll well, the first ones will be 1 and 2. And then, as I move them, I guess we'll name them. So this is 1, this will be 2, this will be 3. And then, we'll see what the others are. Light infantry can set up within those trees there. We're about to deploy the stakes to protect ourselves. And I think 4th Brigade should be closer to 1st to protect it. And it might be that the 5th Brigade does not do that much if it's left behind the howitzers. So they will advance. And then we'll see this one will tilt a bit more like that as it approaches the enemy. And let's have these rush a little bit. The enemy still has some artillery. Got one piece that is about to retreat. We've got one over here. Oh, they've got 2 artillery pieces left. I note that there's tons of enemy troops all over the place. Oh, look at this. Looks a bit out of place with the rest of them. Armored pikemen, though, would be really cool. My pikemen are not armored. Oh wait, are these pikes... No, they're the same height. Or are they? It might be that my pikes are a little bit longer. I don't know. It might just look like that. It's kind of a cramped amount of space, and I want to gain quite a bit of ground. And it also, stuff like this... This might not seem like much, but it will actually stop bullets, this little fence. And we'll kind of rush these. And I think what we'll do is we'll have these two on the side. Actually turn up like that. And given that we're about to come into combat, let's see if I can blast some of them. Okay, they're gonna charge straight into us. And I'm hesitant to call the counter charge, but the Swiss charge in, so I will counter. And as the enemy is then kind of fully engaged there, these three will march up. I don't want to blow my own men now, since we're in melee fights. I'll hold fire. Oof, like hitting close. Got this militia regiment coming down from the hill. Most of the Austrian army seem to be on the move at this point. I want to blast this. And the Swiss regiment, I don't think we're going to melee it down. Instead, I'm going to try to pull back. One of the regiments there lost half its men fighting the Swiss. But now the flanking companies have moved into position and should be able to open up and shoot the enemy down. Ooh, if it weren't for these guys, this Cuirassier Guard having rode in front of our fire... Oh, they actually did break one of our regiments. The bigger one, so the smaller one actually holds. I think we'll still try to draw that back further. And they're attacking all across the line. The guards will hold fire and pull back, as I do not want them shooting my own men there in the center. Okay, the Swiss are determined to send this regiment off the field. But they were shattered. It was too much in the long run. So I think this one is probably going to come back. Bloody Paradeurs. We'll charge them, and then I'll bring these two up to the edge, so they'll be able to lay down fire upon the Swiss. And then I'm hoping this one comes back. The small one has no point in having it here, so it will retreat to stand next to the artillery. And then what we can do is we can send these two up just to plug the gap here in between, since this brigade has actually lost two of its units. One being broken down to the point where it's no point in having it on the field. I think we have a pretty good shot here. Artillery will switch to shrapnel shot and fire towards the Swiss pikemen, which are about to attack the main line. It might be that they're a bit too close now. If I might tell them to hold fire. Fire towards here instead. We've got some big line infantry. I think these will break on their own. We got some nasty cavalry charges going in over here. Provincial cavalry though. Nothing too bad. Part of this brigade will move up so. And form square. And then we all move like that, and that opens up for this part, this brigade to open up and fire upon the cavalry, the provincial cavalry that is attacking the square. We also have some militia firing onto the square. It's a big concentration of enemy troops. I think it's too close for the artillery to actually fire at it in any good way. We do have these artillery pieces right here. They'll hopefully can lay some of their shrapnel shot onto this. And the enemy is really close. Weird formation right there. Oh, there comes the shrapnel shots. Bouncing in. Actually bouncing a bit above our men. This unit wasn't even the target, but it's actually absolutely shredded the side of this unit, David Crockett and his men. I think... Well, I have been able to recruit some of these Grenzer units, but not entirely sure if it's the Paulstadt. What are you doing? Why are you reforming like that? Right, let's bring it home. Let's have these three march towards the enemy, what remains of the enemy artillery. Still a lot of enemy cavalry stationed there. The formation of the brigades are kind of falling apart. Having these two march like so. The enemy is still heavy fighting right here. I'm gonna pull these back as the shrapnel shot are hitting my own men. So the center brigade is gonna pull back. And then I can see a cavalry charge going in there. We need to break the square. And then bring these four forward like so towards the road. Okay, the enemy is continuing to follow us in. We're actually firing on a retreating regiment. They're piling on. I think the guard engineers are probably quite good in melee. It's a guard unit, so why not? We're gonna charge them in, and we're gonna aid the front line here to make sure that the howitzers do not fall. Continuously bombarding this one, which is at this point kind of unnecessary. I'll tell the artillery to hold fire and instead pick target at will. They're once again charging the square over there. We've got big melee going on here as my engineers are charging in. They should be able to dispel the militia and the infantry regiment, as we now outnumber both of these units. And you can see how they've just moved in all over the place to kind of disperse the unit and cause disarray within it. The line infantry actually pulls back before the militia. I'll tell the guard regiments to actually continue the charge and end the enemy. The enemy general was now shot down as he rides straight into a volley over here. And also, no, he might have just rode onto a spike. Right, the guards will retreat. Actually, not that far back. They will go to here, and then the center brigade is going to march up. And then these guys will march like so. And I wonder where the enemy reinforcements are going to come from. And they're going to come in from over here. So there is where we're going to march to. I think going all the way there is probably going to... I mean, dragging the artillery, especially the round shot artillery, it's going to be kind of impossible to go all the way over there. Round shot, they can fire pretty darn far, but I don't think even they can fire that far. Yeah, it stops kind of like here. Dragging them to a point where they can fire is going to take too long. Instead, what we'll do is we'll move the infantry in a way that we'll be able to send the enemy away. So we got these three here, which seems to be under fire from our own artillery at this point, which is great. We'll march within range of this one. And then what we'll need to do is we'll need to take... Oh, no, it is the enemy that's firing their shot. I want to take that hill that the enemy hold. So I'm just going to march. Order all infantry to march forward as most units of the First Army is retreating. All of them except the artillery, which we'd hope to blast at this point. If I can... Ooh, it might be dangerous to focus in there. Focus in! Why are you firing over there? Firing on our own. The howitzers, I do think we can move forward to actually partake in the battle. All the artillery will focus in here. We've got forward moments or forward units of the enemy provincial cavalry readying to charge us. We were able to form square, and the fire was ineffective as we shot more of our own. But now when they actually stood, then we start to kind of destroy them. Got a small special hussar unit coming in from the side, regrouping. The enemy made their first charge fail. They're gonna move in for a second one. Gonna have to form this one into square. And as we're shooting too much of our own, I'm gonna send this one over there. I'm gonna send you over there. And I'm gonna send you to melee charge down this one. And then these five actually, should move on to the plateau over here. The rest of the regiments should be moving into position. I have neglected to use my cavalry, but it's always good to, send them in the last, because normally it's the other way around and I lose them in the beginning. Right. The enemy is kind of harassing us with their cavalry, making sure that we cannot advance too far forward. How is this one still there when I've ordered all my artillery to fire upon it? If the howitzer shots, guess there are two... oh, there we go. Now they're dispersed. Howitzers will fire round shot at the enemy. We're kind of running into problem here as the enemy cavalry is stopping my advancement. They rode straight into this line, but I'm hoping that this line will in fact hold, even though they've just lost their flag. They are firing straight into the cavalry. So I do believe the line will hold. The square will definitely hold. And the provincial cavalry have been defeated. The squares will be dropped. And we will quickly move up to the most furthest point on the ridge. Same all across. We'll start by getting everyone kind of into line, and then I can organize them as I want later. So have the cavalry speed up a bit, and it's time to start moving up the artillery. So we'll move them with the guards, the guard engineers, as their guards guarding the artillery. Will be moved over to the road over there. And there is exact where the my artillery will be stationed. It might be too late and the battle might already be over at that point. The enemy has been able to establish something of a foothold on the map, with quite a few infantry regiments, but nothing close to what we have. And their cavalry is looking to leave the map, it seems. think what we'll do is we'll have these two move towards the forest and the little cover which is there. And then what we really should be doing is just engaging the enemy and holding it in place as soon as possible. Right, the artillery should be ready to move. I thought anyways. Some of the pieces are acting stupid, so only one piece is actually moving for some reason. Fine, I'll do it without artillery then. The guards will then move up further, and we'll have my cavalry swing out as far to the left as possible. You'll act as a reserve over there, and you'll act as a reserve over there. And then we'll have these plug the gap here all the way to the end of the map. And as we kind of have a high ridge behind them, there is where their second line will be held. And it seems to be going well. This regiment has been sent back. The Albanian warband is about to get shredded. Hungarian line infantry is moving forward. Let's gain even more ground with these units. If there's impassable terrain right there. We'll go bold or go all the way over there. These two will actually charge down the warband before they're able to establish their spikes, which we were unable to do. This one will actually be kind of a hard nut to crack. Let's see if we can get closer to just that edge of the wall, take protection from that. As those volleys, quite heavy. See if we can support here a bit closer. Get these two over here. So I'm slowly enveloping the enemy. Militia. Their hussars making a desperate charge across open fields straight towards us. The enemy has started to blast us with canister. Do not like that. What we're gonna have is the Cuirassiers countercharging the enemy over there. And I want the hussars to go for that enemy artillery piece and get it before that canister absolutely obliterates my men. And I need to lay more fire onto the enemy right here. So we're just gonna reassemble the line over there. Right, the hussars are able to go in. Get rid of the enemy artillery. I really kinda, now when I look at it, I kinda really needed more infantry over here. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna add on to this line by having these two join there. And then these three can extend their line, and then all of these will extend their line. And now I got a cavalry unit in there, but they can continue against the militia. So we'll drag the line like so. And since the Hungarians there were defeated, we can move forward. Looks like second line is probably shooting first line there. Pull them back a bit. Thin line of red Polish troops. There's a lot of militia. We've got a big unit of expatriate infantry. I wish I had my artillery to blast away some of these units. Did we get the artillery? Ooh, that hussar unit, it might very well just evaporate if I don't pull it back. And it looks like one of the hussar units might very well have done that, because I can only see two of my cavalry units. with the third one gone, I managed to lose my artillery, I mean my cavalry once more, and I didn't even notice when I did it. That first line here is kind of broken up, so I want to replace them, the ones that station on the front. And I want to have smaller units stationed on this side. Hopefully be able to fire above. Ooh, we have a massive attack over here as they follow on to our cavalry. And looks like they're trying to break through. We'll form units into square. And then if I can get rid of that one, the expatriate, then we can draw the line here instead. Large part of the enemy army is falling back. You can probably move up like so. Alright, we're pulling down quite a bit of fire on this one. And they're broken. Right. These three will follow up to this point. And oh, it's a bunch of impassable terrain. Station behind there, hold your fire. Be ready to shoot the enemy down if necessary. The enemy cavalry should be quite an easy target for us. Hussar guards are actually about to retreat. The enemy's cavalry charges on this side is kind of relentless and kind of devastating. The Hussar Guard is pulling back. Right. With all the cavalry done over there, you can redraw the line down here. Go all the way to the edge of the map. Have the Cuirassiers charge in, try to save that square. For it's absolutely broken. These three will replace the ones, the units that were broken over here. And luckily for me, it looks like that unit's going to make it out safely. It's a very experienced unit, so we don't want to lose that one. It's going to be a hard fight though, as enemy guard unit has moved in. But they moved straight into deadly fire from the infantry unit. Unfortunately, it looks like they're now fully engaged in melee. So no more fire from them. See if you can advance a bit. Have the square retreat. And then it's down to defeating the household cavalry units and the hussars over on this side. Some really small squares trying to defeat the enemy. Firing above the our own troops. Right, we got all of them retreating at this point. And if I can get that artillery piece that's about to enter the field to retreat as well. I do believe we have won, so not only did we cut off the enemy, we most certainly destroyed their garrison in Bavaria, which makes this a bloody good victory. And there we have it. Took me about half an hour. And the first one took me about 10 minutes. So that's pretty good. And the cavalry rode up and killed most of the enemy artillery. They're sending in another piece. Anyways, the battle from here on out is won for me, so I mean, there's no way the enemy is going to be able to get up get any units out there now when I control everything. So from here we'll cut to the statistics. And there we have the result of the battle. It took a while as troops kept coming in. But here we can see that the enemy deployed 11,000 men and I deployed a roughly 8,000, where which I lost about half, while the enemy lost 7,000. They still have 4,000 men remaining, so they outnumber us. But most of that was retreating back to their capital of Munich in Bavaria. And some of it might have split off from the first army. Still a pretty good, darn good victory. Well, line infantry did most of it because, well, at a certain point there, the artillery was without range. We got one artillery piece actually up in the high scores here. Normally the artillery doesn't do that much, or I haven't really gotten the... well, it doesn't really get the score that I think it deserves. Oh, they retreated from the capital. However, I cannot march on it. But that's a pretty easy out-resolve. And I wonder if the capital... Obviously they're not gonna fall to demand surrender, but I can bring in more of the troops out here. This army could actually march up and make sure that the out-resolve goes through, and then the capital would fall. And then we already own the army at Ulm is what remains, more or less. But yeah, this video's gone on long enough, so let's not speculate any further, and I'll go end it right here. So hopefully you guys enjoyed it, and hopefully I'll see you guys for the next one. Bye.